Have you ever wondered what drives a woman to cheat? Is it a coldness in her husband's heart, a void where love and attention used to be? Or is it something more primal, a hunger of the body that her marriage can no longer satisfy? Adultery. It's the kind of topic people discuss in hushed, judgmental tones. Yet it's a fire that burns through more homes than we care to admit. A fever that never seems to break. What I'm about to tell you might sound unbelievable, like something from a movie, but this is my story, this is my truth, and I suspect that out there, in the quiet corners of the world, there are countless women living a version of my life. The only difference is whether or not they finally break. My name is Lily. I'm an OBGYN, 28 years old. I own my own private practice, a sleek, modern ultrasound clinic that's always bustling. My career is my pride, my creation. I'm successful. I'm told I'm beautiful, that I have a certain allure. I am, by all accounts, a woman at the peak of her life. My husband, his name is Ethan. You might know him. He's an actor, a model, the kind of man whose face you see on billboards, whose smile makes women sigh. Everyone told me how lucky I was. A successful career, a handsome, famous husband, the perfect picture. But pictures can be deceiving, can't they? Behind the perfect facade, inside the walls of our designer home, my heart held a deep, quiet sorrow. A sorrow I couldn't put into words. It was the simple, devastating truth that in my own marriage, I felt completely and utterly unfulfilled. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt a single shred of real marital happiness. I know what you're thinking, that I'm some kind of nymphomaniac, a woman with an insatiable appetite, and maybe you're not entirely wrong. But before you cast your stone, just listen. Put yourself in my shoes, just for a little while, and maybe you'll understand. Ethan was busy, always. He was away on location for months at a time, filming. He'd come home, a ghost in our house for 2, maybe 3 days. The scent of a hotel room still clinging to his clothes, before a new schedule would snatch him away again. We were supposed to be newlyweds, but the time we spent together was so scarce, it felt like stolen moments from someone else's life. It broke my heart, but what could I do? It was his job, his passion, so I stayed home, alone. Well, not entirely alone. I lived with his mother, and that was its own special kind of hell. The distance from my husband, compounded by the daily pressure cooker of living with my mother-in-law, was slowly suffocating our marriage. Helen, that's her name, is 55, but she carries the rigid principles of someone from a bygone century. We were living in a world of social media and instant everything, yet she governed the house with rules from the 1,950 seconds. A young woman, she'd say, her eyes scanning my outfit with disapproval, should dress modestly, cover herself. Even when it was just the 2 of us in the house, I wasn't allowed to wear shorts. The standard she set was pants that went past the knee, always. During the day, I had my work, my patients, the rhythmic hum of the ultrasound machine, the joy of showing new parents the first flicker of their child's heartbeat. It was my sanctuary, but the nights. Oh, the nights were a different story. The silence of the house would press in on me, and an ache would settle deep in my chest. A profound emptiness. I craved the simple feeling of being held, of sinking into my husband's arms, but I couldn't, because my husband was never there. This afternoon, while I was in the middle of a consultation, my phone buzzed. It was him. "Hey," he said, his voice distant, crackling slightly. "I'm coming home tonight. The next shoot is local, so I'll be around for a while." A jolt of pure, Unadulterated joy shot through me. I actually jumped in my chair. For a while. He'd be home for a while. I left the clinic early, my heart light for the first time in months. I went to the market, to the good one, and bought all his favorite things. A thick-cut steak, fresh asparagus, that expensive bottle of red wine he loves. When I walked in, laden with grocery bags, Helen was sitting in the living room, watching me like a hawk. That's a lot of food, Lily. It's just the two of us. Are you planning on feeding an army? Oh, I smiled, my cheeks flushed with excitement. Ethan's coming home tonight, Helen. Didn't he tell you? Her face soured. No, he didn't call me. That boy. He gets a wife, and suddenly, his own mother doesn't exist anymore. She sighed dramatically. How disappointing. It's not like that. Helen, I'm sure he was just busy. I started, but she just waved a dismissive hand and walked upstairs, leaving me alone with the groceries and her bitterness hanging in the air. She was always jealous of me. Always. I tried to let it go. I told myself she was lonely. My father-in-law had passed away years ago, and Ethan was her only child. Now she had to share him. So I made a conscious effort to never be too affectionate with Ethan in front of her. I was considerate. I tried to love her, but she never saw it. When Ethan was away, she watched my every move, a constant, silent critic. Every tiny, insignificant thing became a reason to call him, to whisper her poison into his ear. And then there was the baby issue, or the lack of one. It was the heaviest stone she had to throw at me. I'd had myself checked, top to bottom. I was perfectly healthy, but Ethan was always gone. The crucial days of my cycle would come and go, and he'd be 1,000 miles away. What was I supposed to do? I begged him to get tested with me, just to be sure, just to rule everything out. Helen overheard me once. "You're the one who's broken," she'd shrieked, her face contorted with rage. "Not my son. There is nothing wrong with my son. If you can't give him a child, I'll find him a wife who can." In her mind, it was always my fault. Everything was always my fault. That evening, the front door finally opened. Ethan. He walked in, dropped his bag, and kissed my cheek. A quick, dry peck. "Hey babe, I'm home. Are you tired?" I asked, my hands fluttering nervously. Exhausted. Full day on set. My back is killing me. "I'll give you a massage later," I offered, my voice soft. "Perfect." He smiled that movie star smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "You should go up and say hi to your mom. She's been waiting for you." I always did that. Always tried to smooth things over, to remind him that she was the most important woman in his life. I had always told him, "When you're away, you need to call your mom. You need to call me. We worry." But he was careless. He'd call once, maybe twice if we were lucky, and that was it. The three of us ate dinner. We sat in the living room and made small talk until 10. Then I excused myself and went up to our bedroom. Ethan stayed behind, talking to his mother. I could hear their muffled voices through the floor. As soon as I was gone, I knew what would happen. Helen's voice, low and conspiratorial. "Ethan, honey, I need to talk to you about something." "What is it, Mom?" "It's Lily. She's different lately. I'm worried." "Different how? What are you talking about?" "She's been dressing up so much. Makeup, expensive clothes. She's never put this much effort in before. When you're not home, who is she trying to look beautiful for?" A pause. I could imagine the seed of doubt being planted. "Mom, come on. That's probably nothing. Don't be naive, Ethan," she scoffed. "A beautiful woman doesn't just sit at home waiting. You're not careful. She'll put horns on your head before you even know what's happening. She's a business owner now, Mom. She has to look professional. You're overthinking this. Don't be so hard on her. Just let her be. Then, Helen's trump card. The wounded act. Fine. I was only trying to look out for you. If that's how you feel, I won't say another word. Ever again. Mom, that's not what I meant. Please don't be upset. I heard the rustle of a gift bag. Here, I got you something. Her tone changed instantly, sweetened by the offering. I lay in bed, waiting. An hour passed. Still no Ethan. I was starting to ache with longing. I just wanted him to hold me. Finally, he came in. I was already lying on the bed, waiting for him. But there was no urgency in his movements, no passion. He didn't rush to me, didn't tear at my clothes. He just calmly slid into bed beside me, wrapped an arm around my waist, and closed his eyes. Within 5 minutes, he was snoring. I couldn't sleep. I pressed myself against his chest, trying to wake him with the friction of my body, the heat of my skin. Nothing. His snores grew louder. After 3 months apart, this was it, just sleeping, side by side. My desperation grew into a physical thing, a raw, gnawing need. I slipped my hand down, under the covers, my fingers searching for him. He stirred, mumbled something, and then his eyes fluttered open. He sat up, swung his legs out of bed, and went to the bathroom. He didn't even look at me. He came back, climbed back into bed, and fell asleep again, just like that. I lay there, wide awake, feeling the sting of tears behind my eyes. I felt so alone, so rejected. For the next 2 nights, it was the same story, utter indifference. By the 3rd night, my desire had curdled into a cold, hard knot of resentment. That was the night I saw the text message. It popped up on his phone while he was in the shower. A name I recognized, Ava Stone, his co-star, the lead actress in the new film they were shooting. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone and opened their chat. It was mostly harmless stuff, questions about call times, lines from the script, but there was a flirtatious edge to it, an intimacy that made my stomach clench. I felt a surge of jealousy so potent it was dizzying. I was jealous of a woman I had never even met. After his 3 days were up, he started filming again, and it was Ava Stone herself who pulled up to our house in her sleek black convertible to pick him up. I stood on the balcony, watching my husband get into another woman's car, and a terrible thought took root in my mind. He has someone else. That's why he doesn't want me anymore. That's why he's so cold. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that I had to find out the truth. The anxiety was a constant hum under my skin. I couldn't focus at work. All I could think about was Ethan and Ava. After my last patient left, I got in my car and drove. The new set was only 30 minutes away. I parked down the street, my heart hammering against my ribs, and watched from a distance. And then I saw them. They were filming a scene, a love scene, a kiss. It wasn't just a peck for the camera. It was deep, passionate. The way he held her, the way his hands tangled in her hair. It was real. And in that moment, a memory surfaced, sharp and painful. It had been so long, since he had kissed me like that. Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't watch anymore. I slammed the car into drive and sped home. He came home late that night. We were both exhausted from different worlds, and we went to sleep in our separate corners of the bed, a universe of silence between us. The next morning was Sunday. After a tense, silent breakfast, Ethan left for the set again. Helen watched him go and sighed. That poor boy. He works so hard, day and night. I worry he's going to make himself sick. Something inside me snapped. A bitter, sarcastic retort escaped before I could stop it. Oh, He's having a wonderful time at work, Helen. Don't you worry. He has plenty of motivation to keep him going. Her eyes narrowed. What is that supposed to mean? You sound jealous. Is that it? You're jealous because you don't make as much money as he does? Because you're not famous? Mother, I am perfectly happy with my career. Please, don't say things like that. She scoffed, a look of utter contempt on her face. That tiny little clinic? How much could you possibly make? My son makes millions from a single movie. A woman like you. You're not even worthy of polishing his shoes. The rage was a white-hot flash. His millions that you lock away in your safe. Let me tell you something, Helen. The food we eat every day, the electricity, the gas, everything this family needs to function. It's paid for by me, by the money from my tiny little clinic. That was it. The floodgates opened. So that's it, she shrieked, her voice rising to a crescendo. You're counting every penny you spend on your husband's own mother. Oh, the shame. Has anyone ever heard of such a thing? A daughter-in-law who resents feeding the woman who gave birth to her husband. I am not counting anything. Why do you always have to twist my words? Don't you use that sweet and sour tone with me. You can fool my son, but you can't fool me. I see you for what you are. A scheming, manipulative. She grabbed her phone. I'm calling Ethan. I'm going to tell him exactly what kind of monster he married. Fine, I said, my voice trembling with a weariness that went bone deep. Go ahead. Tell him whatever you want. I don't care anymore. She stormed outside into the yard, phone pressed to her ear, and began her performance. I could hear snippets of it through the open window. Weeping, wailing. She's counting every dollar, son. I'm just an old burden to her. Maybe I should just move out. Live on my own. Oh, your poor father. If he could see how I'm being treated. It was a masterful performance. Truly, an Oscar-worthy display of manipulation. By the time she came back inside, her eyes were dry, her expression calm, as if nothing had happened. It was terrifying. A moment later, my phone rang. I knew who it was. I took a deep breath and answered. Hello? Ethan's voice was like ice. What the hell is your problem, Lily? She's my mother, my only mother. My father is gone. Have you no compassion? She's old. How can you treat her like that? Ethan, you don't understand. I never. Don't even start. I'm not there, but I know what you're like. You're my wife. You're supposed to love my mother. If you can't do that, then maybe you should start thinking about what you really want. Maybe we should just go our separate ways. His words hit me like a bucket of ice water, a shock that woke me up from the dream of my own marriage. Had I married the wrong man? Even as the accusations rained down on me, I kept my voice calm. You're misunderstanding me, Ethan. I have never once mistreated your mother. You can't just listen to one side of the story. You have to see things with your own eyes. I don't have time for this. I'm busy, he snapped. Just remember this, Lily. I can find another wife, but I only have one mother. Do you understand? And then he hung up. I sat there, in the silent living room, the phone still pressed to my ear. He had always been this way, always on her side, right or wrong. To him, his mother's word was gospel. The disappointment was so immense, it felt like a physical weight on my chest. I had been so impulsive, so blinded by love, and now I was paying the price. I picked up my phone and texted him. You want a divorce? The reply was instantaneous. Up to you. I read the words, and my heart didn't just break. It turned to dust. I didn't cry. I couldn't even laugh. I just felt stuck, trapped. I went upstairs, opened my closet, and pulled out a tight, body-hugging dress, the kind Helen would hate. I did my makeup, carefully, beautifully. And then I walked out of that house and drove to a sleek, expensive cocktail bar downtown. I ordered a bottle of their best wine and started drinking, alone. With every sip, the sadness deepened. I looked around the bar at the wealthy men, young and old, all looking for something. After a while, when the wine had blurred the edges of the room, a young man sat down next to me. "Drinking alone?" he asked, his voice smooth. "That's a lonely sport." I turned and looked at him, tall, handsome. I managed a small smile. "A little. Mind if I join you? Be my guest." We drank together. I needed a drinking partner, and I didn't care who he was. I didn't ask for his name. I didn't offer mine. After a few more glasses, he leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear. "Do you believe in one-night stands?" I looked him up and down. I thought about the cold bed waiting for me at home. I thought about how long it had been since I'd felt a man's touch, since I'd felt wanted. How long had it been since I'd felt anything? An idea, reckless and desperate, formed in my mind. Maybe this was the answer, a way to fill the emptiness, just for a few hours. I nodded. I could be persuaded. He smiled. "Then let's go, baby." But even in my drunken haze, I needed rules. No attachments, no strings. "After tonight," I said, my voice firmer than I felt, "we're strangers. We never saw each other." He agreed instantly. He drove us to a hotel, but it was a disaster. Another disappointment. He was all clumsy urgency, no finesse, no foreplay, no kisses. It was over before it had barely begun. There was no pleasure, no release, no satisfaction. As the alcohol wore off, a wave of regret washed over me. I felt cheap, dirty. I felt guilty. I had betrayed my husband. And for what? For this empty, meaningless act. This was not what I wanted. I paid for the room and left, vowing to myself that I would never do it again. I would go home. I would be a good wife. Maybe all men were the same. Maybe this was just my lot in life. I would learn to live with it. I would go back to Ethan, and I would try to fix things. I tried. I really did. I bought fresh fruit, squeezed juice, and took it to his set, a peace offering for him and the crew. But my luck, it was rotten. Of course, the moment I arrived, he was in the middle of another scene with Ava. This time, it was a shower scene. He was in his briefs, shirtless. She was in a tiny, provocative bikini. The geyser of jealousy erupted inside me again, hot and fierce. I had to physically stop myself from screaming. I stood there, clenching and unclenching my fists, counting to 100 in my head until the red haze cleared from my vision. Finally, I forced a smile onto my face and walked over to him. "Honey," I said, my voice bright and fake, "are you tired?" He looked at me, his expression flat, annoyed. "I'm fine. What are you doing here?" "I just came to visit. I brought snacks for you and the crew." His dismissive tone extinguished the fragile hope in my heart. He had just humiliated me in front of everyone. Luckily, the script supervisor, a kind older woman, intervened. "Ethan, what a thing to say. Your wife comes all this way to bring you treats, and that's how you talk to her." She took the fruit from me, smiling warmly. "Thank you so much, dear. This is lovely. Don't mind him. You know how he is. A bit rough around the edges, but he's got a good heart." "Yes, I know," I lied. The rest of the crew was friendly, but Ethan and Ava were cold. The mood on set was tense because of my presence. Ava kept messing up her lines, forcing them to do take after take. Ethan just sat in a corner, scrolling through his phone, ignoring me completely. But I stayed. I stubbornly sat there, a silent statement to Ava. He is married. He is mine. She didn't seem to care. When it was time to go for a celebratory dinner, she brazenly linked her arm through Ethan's. I immediately moved in, pushed her hand away, and took my husband's arm. Our car is over there, honey, I said sweetly. Ava just laughed. Oh, silly. Ethan is driving me. Aren't you, Ethan? You forgot? He looked at me, unapologetic. Yeah, I forgot. You drive yourself, Lily. I'm giving Ava a ride. But Ethan, I'm your wife. You should drive your wife. Just take your own car. I'm going with Ava. She dangled her car keys in front of him. He took them with a smile, leaving me standing there, completely abandoned. Ava turned to me, a smirk playing on her lips. See, he doesn't want to ride with you. I think you should just go home. Don't follow us. You'll only embarrass yourself further. I was shaking with rage, but I couldn't make a scene in front of all these people. I lowered my voice to a hiss. You are shameless. He's a married man. You need to back off. Are you afraid you're going to lose him? She purred. If you're not confident you can keep him, you should just divorce him. It's obvious he has no feelings for you anymore. Why are you clinging to him? She leaned in closer. I'll let you in on a little secret. We're in love. You're a homewrecker. And you're proud of it? Very proud, she said, her smile widening. I'm warning you, Ava. Stay away from my husband, or you will pay a very high price. Are you threatening me? I'm not scared of you. You're a failure. Just watch. I will make him leave you. You are the most shameless woman I have ever met. A famous actress, and you have to stoop to stealing another woman's husband. Divorce him. Never. Then we'll see how long you can last as the wife on the sidelines. I will make him leave you. I promise. You're that confident. How? She leaned into my ear, her voice a venomous whisper. Because he told me. He told me that sleeping with you is boring. He said it's like death. Lifeless. Cold. Not satisfying at all. My hand clenched into a fist. I wanted to hit her. I wanted to wipe that smug look right off her face. But people were starting to come out of the studio. I had to hold it in. She saw my restraint, and her smile grew wider. She turned and sauntered over to Ethan, who was waiting by her car. He opened the passenger door for her. He drove away with her, right in front of me, without a single backward glance. That was it. I lost control. I ran to my car, my mind a storm of pure, unadulterated fury. I started the engine and peeled out of the parking lot, following them. The rest of the crew's cars were ahead of us. It was just my car and their car, alone on the road behind the convoy. At a red light, she turned and looked at me through her side mirror, that same mocking smile on her face. She was deliberately trying to provoke me. She picked the wrong person to provoke. I let some space grow between our cars. Then I slammed my foot on the accelerator. Crunch. The sound of metal on metal was sickeningly satisfying. My front end was crumpled. Her rear end was mangled. Damage. I didn't care. If I was going down, I was taking them with me. I backed up and did it again. Crunch. They stopped the car, horrified. Ethan stuck his head out the window, his face pale with shock. Lily, are you crazy? What are you doing? Do you want to die? I rolled down my window and screamed back, a wild, crazed smile on my face. Don't worry, honey. If I die, I'm taking you with me. We're husband and wife, aren't we? Till death do us part. You're insane. Pull over. I just laughed and revved the engine, ramming them a third time. Her license plate clattered to the pavement. They were terrified now. They scrambled out of the car. As Ava fumbled with her door, leaving it open, I saw my chance. I floored it one last time, aiming directly for the open door. It tore off the hinges with a horrific screech. a mangled piece of metal hanging uselessly. Ethan and his mistress ran away from the scene, leaving me there with 2 wrecked cars and the sound of approaching sirens. As the police cuffed me, I didn't feel fear. I felt vindicated. They were famous. A scandal like this would destroy them. Me, I had nothing left to lose. I was strangely, terrifyingly calm. I expected to spend hours in that cold, sterile police station. I expected fines that would cripple my savings. I expected charges, a court date, maybe even a night in a holding cell. So I sat and waited, the adrenaline slowly draining away, leaving a hollow ache in its place. After what felt like an eternity, a weary-looking officer finally approached me. "All right, Miss Hayes," he said, his voice flat. "We just need you to sign a statement, promising this won't happen again, and then you're free to go." I stared at him, bewildered. "That's it? What about the damages? The car?" "It's been handled," he said, avoiding my eyes. "No charges are being pressed." Handled? How? I knew, of course. I knew exactly how. My husband. Did he? The officer gave a slight, almost imperceptible shrug. "I don't know anything about that, ma'am. All I know is my superiors said to process your release. Just sign here." I signed the paper, my hand steady. So that was it. They had bought their way out of a scandal. Ethan and Ava. Their precious careers were more important than justice, more important than the truth. The rage I had felt earlier was gone, replaced by a profound, chilling clarity. They were terrified, and that gave me a strange, bitter sense of power. I walked out of the station and into the night air. When I got home, Helen was waiting for me, her arms crossed, her face a mask of thunder. You have brought shame upon this family," she began, her voice a low growl. "Do you have any idea what you've done? You could have destroyed my son's career. I'm the one who could have destroyed him." I shot back, the exhaustion and betrayal of the day finally boiling over. "Your son is the one sleeping with his co-star, and you're worried about my behavior? Do you ever, for 1 second, think about me? Am I even human to you, Helen? Or am I just some thing that lives in your house? You are less than an animal," she spat, her eyes blazing. "You are a disgrace, a vulgar, impulsive, wicked woman. If anything happens to my son because of this, I will kill you. I swear it." I laughed, a broken, hollow sound. "You want to know why I did it, Helen. You want to know the real reason. It's because the 2 of them are in love. Ava told me herself. For over 3 months, your precious son hasn't touched me, hasn't so much as looked at me. Does that sound like a man who loves his wife? It proves he has another woman." "Nonsense. Utter nonsense," she shrieked, refusing to believe a word of it. "You're just making up childish fantasies." Even if I had proof, she would have denied it. She would always defend him. I was so tired. I was screaming now, the words tearing from my throat. Is there any man on this earth, married for less than a year, who would abandon his wife for months at a time without a single touch? I am made of flesh and blood, Helen, not stone. And his mistress admitted it to my face. "Why do you defend him? Why?" "Because it's a lie. Now stop this hysterics and go clean the house. Make dinner." I had nothing left to say. I turned and walked upstairs, slamming my bedroom door behind me. The silence was deafening. I felt utterly, completely alone. Was this it? Was divorce the only way out? Ethan came home around 11. He looked wrecked. I sat up in bed, my heart a cold stone in my chest, and watched as he walked to the dresser. He placed a folded stack of papers on the polished wood surface. "Divorce papers. Sign them," he said, his voice devoid of all emotion. I'm done. We're done. I am so tired of you. The words were like acid. You're the one who cheats, who runs around behind my back, and then you come home and say you're tired. I said, my own voice, a bitter whisper. You want a divorce so you can be with your new toy. You're a coward, Ethan. A pathetic coward. Sign the papers. Lily, he repeated, his voice dangerously low. Don't say another word. What you did today, what you caused, is 1,000,000 times worse than me sleeping with someone else. I made it go away for you. The least you can do is shut your mouth. Everything I did was because of you. I cried, the tears finally coming. If you hadn't abandoned me, if you had cared about me at all, if she hadn't taunted me and called me a failure, none of this would have happened. Don't you understand that? I don't want to argue anymore. Just sign. I took the pen, and with a hand that barely trembled, I signed away my marriage. It was over. A complete and utter failure. And whose fault was it? His, for having an affair, or mine, for not knowing how to keep my husband, how to hold on to my own happiness. He picked up the papers and walked out of the room. As he passed through the living room, his mother was there, waiting. Where are you going, son? It's late. I'm leaving, Mom. I'll be gone for a few days. What's that in your hand? She took the papers from him. Divorce papers. You're really doing it? Yes. She lowered her voice. That story about you and that actress. Is it true? I could just barely hear his reply. A quiet, defeated, yeah. Are you sure about this, son? Once it's done, there's no going back. I know, Mom. Go to sleep. I'm leaving now. And he was gone. The next day, I began to pack. I decided to move into the small apartment above my clinic. I wasn't ready to tell my own parents about the divorce, and living there seemed like the simplest solution. As I carried a box downstairs, Helen appeared in the hallway. Where are you going? I've signed the papers, Helen. I'm leaving. If you walk out that door now, she said, her voice strangely flat, there will be no way for you to come back. Think carefully about what you're doing. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Just last night you were calling me the enemy, and now you're trying to give me advice? What changed? She didn't answer. She just sighed and went back into her room. The first few days living at the clinic were a blur of numb routine. The work was a blessing, a distraction. But when the last employee left, and I was alone in the silence, the emptiness would come rushing back. I've never felt so adrift in my entire life. Eventually, the day came to finalize everything in court. I made myself look at Ethan, really look at him, for what I knew would be the last time. This man I had loved so much. We didn't have children, so the process was brutally quick. After this, there would be no reason for us to ever see each other again. And then, just outside the courthouse doors, I saw her, Ava, waiting for him. She saw me and smiled, a look of pure, triumphant satisfaction on her face. You lost, Lily, she said, her voice like honeyed poison. He chose me. I just sighed. This isn't about winning or losing. You can have him. I hope you're happy. I just hope. You'll be good to him. She just smirked, saying nothing. And I watched as my husband, my ex-husband, walked away with another woman. Have you ever felt a pain so sharp it feels like it's physically carving out your insides? That was it. I couldn't even cry anymore. It was over. Really over. I had to be strong now. I had to focus on my work, on my life. I would make money. I would build my practice, and I would bury the memory of this broken marriage. Time passes. It's a cliche because it's true. 6 months went by. The sharp edges of the pain began to dull. I was working day and night. On a holiday weekend, A group of my old college friends planned a trip to a beach resort. I went with them, trying to feel normal, but it was torture. They were all couples, happy and in love. I saw myself a year ago, with Ethan, laughing with this same group of people. They had all said how handsome he was, how lucky I was. We had promised we'd all come back next year, and here I was, alone. They were kind, telling me I'd find someone new soon, but their pity was almost worse than their happiness. While they splashed in the ocean, I sat by myself on the shore, sipping a coconut water. I couldn't bring myself to join them, to be the sad, single one in their perfect group photo. And then I saw her, across the beach at another cabana. It was Ava, and she was with a man who was not Ethan. I watched them, my curiosity piqued. I couldn't see Ethan anywhere had they not come together. Later that day, I discovered they were staying in the same hotel as me. They were on the 3rd floor. I was on the 2nd. I saw them in the dining hall, his arm draped possessively around her. My blood ran cold. My ex-husband had been cheated on. He'd left me for this woman, and she was cheating on him. The universe has a twisted sense of humor, doesn't it? I didn't plan on saying anything. It wasn't my business anymore. Whatever happened to him was his own problem. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done with me yet. That evening, I was taking a walk along the shore, and I stumbled upon them again. They were kissing, wrapped up in each other, right there in the moonlight. The sight of it was so blatant, so shameless. It made me sick. I couldn't stop myself. "Well, if it isn't Ava Stone," I said, my voice cutting through the sound of the waves. She jumped, pulling away from the man, her eyes wide with shock. "Lily, what are you doing here?" "Just enjoying the view," I said, my eyes flicking to the man beside her. "I just have one question. Is this your new boyfriend?" The man nodded, looking confused. "I am. What's it to you?" "So it's true, then," I said, looking directly at Ava. "You dumped my ex-husband already. He left me for you, and it only took you a few months to throw him away?" Wow, karma came for him faster than I thought. Ava was panicking now, clearly trying to hide her past from her new man. "What are you talking about? I've never even met your ex-husband. I don't know who you're talking about. You must be mistaken." I laughed. "You're not going to admit it? That's fine. It doesn't matter to me anymore. What you two do is none of my concern." And I turned and walked away. On the outside, I was calm, indifferent. But on the inside, my mind was racing. I couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. What had happened to him? Had they broken up? Where was he now? I pulled out my phone. My thumb hovered over his name in my contacts. I told myself not to. It's not your problem. Let it go. But I couldn't. My heart still ached for him, just a little. I pressed the call button. "Hello, Ethan. It's Lily." "Yeah," he answered, his voice sounding tired. "What's up?" I just called to see how you are, and I have something I need to tell you. Can we meet? Just for a little while." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "All right," he said finally. "I have some free time today. The old coffee shop? 2 o'clock. Okay," I whispered. "See you then." My heart was doing a frantic, fluttering dance in my chest. I went back to my room and stood in front of the mirror. I put on makeup more carefully than I had in months. I chose a white dress, one he had bought for me a lifetime ago, and I went to meet my ex-husband. I got to the coffee shop early, my hands trembling slightly as I clutched my purse. This place, it was saturated with memories. This was where he had proposed. This was where we'd spent countless rainy afternoons, talking for hours, mapping out a future that now lay in ruins. The ghosts of our past selves laughed at me from every corner. Had he forgotten it all, or did he remember? 2. He arrived late, looking awkward and apologetic. Sorry, got held up. Have you been waiting long? No, I just got here, I lied. He looked different, thinner, tired. There were new lines around his eyes. You've been working too hard, I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. You look exhausted. I'm fine, he said, but his smile was strained. You, on the other hand, you look amazing, Lily. Different. Different how? More beautiful. Thanks, I mumbled, feeling a blush creep up my neck. I've actually gained a little weight. It looks good on you. We fell into an easy, surprisingly comfortable conversation, reminiscing about the old days. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, we were laughing together. It was strange. We couldn't manage this when we were married, but now, as strangers, it was effortless. Then I remembered why I was here. I took a deep breath. Ethan, are you and Ava still together? His face darkened instantly. Yeah, we're getting married at the end of the year. The words were a punch to the gut. Oh, well, congratulations. Thanks, he said, his voice flat. What about you? Seeing anyone? No. Still single. You should find someone. Being alone, it's a sad way to be. I don't know, I said quietly. Sometimes being with someone is even sadder. I decided to just get it over with. Listen, there's something I don't know if I should tell you. What is it? Just say it. Last weekend, I was at the beach with Megan and the old crew, and I saw her. I saw Ava. She was with another man. His face went rigid, his jaw tightening. You saw her? With another man. Are you sure? She told me she was visiting her family this weekend. I had a photo shoot. I couldn't go with her. I'm not mistaken, Ethan. I even took a few pictures. I slid my phone across the table. He stared at the screen, at the images of Ava wrapped in another man's arms. A low, guttural sound escaped his throat. That son of a bitch, he whispered. She's still seeing him. Behind my back. You mean, you knew about him? He looked up at me, his eyes filled with a pain that was startlingly familiar. She was with him before me. When we got together, she swore she had ended it. She lied to me. She told me she was visiting her family, so she could be with him. That bastard. He looked absolutely furious. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. I have to go. He was already walking away, but I couldn't let him leave. Not like this. An impulse, born of a longing I didn't know I still had, took over. I quickly typed out a text. Ethan, if you're tired, if you need a place to rest, you can always come to me. I'll take care of you. He read it. I saw the 3 little dots appear and then vanish. He didn't reply. He was gone, and I was left alone again, surrounded by our ghosts. Ethan went straight to the apartment he shared with Ava. He didn't call, didn't warn her. He had a key. His mind was a storm of suspicion. The man in the photos, his name was Dylan, another model. He lived nearby. Ethan had a sickening feeling that whenever he was away on location, Dylan was there, in his bed. When he reached the door, he could hear music from inside. He pressed the doorbell. From inside, a man's voice called out, "Honey, is that the delivery guy?" Then Ava's voice. "Yeah, probably. The money's in my purse on the counter." "Got it, babe." The door opened. Dylan stood there, wearing nothing but a pair of boxer shorts. He stared at Ethan in stunned silence. "Ethan, what are you?" Ethan didn't hesitate. He swung, His fist connected with Dylan's jaw with a sickening crack. "You son of a bitch. What the hell are you doing in my apartment?" "Your apartment," Dylan spat, wiping a trickle of blood from his lip. "What are you talking about? You and Ava broke up 3 months ago. She's my girlfriend now." "Broke up? Broke up when?" Ethan roared. "This is my home. We are engaged. She told me you were done. We've been together for 3 months. Just then, Ava appeared, wrapped in a towel, her hair wet. She saw Ethan and her face went white with terror. "Ethan, you're supposed to be out of town filming. If I hadn't come back, you would have just kept playing me for a fool, wouldn't you?" he screamed, his voice raw with betrayal. "Get out, both of you. Get out of my house." He grabbed Dylan by the collar and threw him out into the hallway. Then he turned on Ava. He stalked into the bedroom, yanked open the closet, and began throwing her clothes, her shoes, her entire life, out into the living room. He was a man possessed, fueled by a rage born of humiliation. Ethan had always been a traditionalist, a man with a rigid, almost old-fashioned sense of pride. Betrayal was the one thing he could not tolerate. He had forgiven her once before, when he'd first found out about Dylan. He'd just divorced me to be with her, and the thought of breaking up so soon was embarrassing. So he had swallowed his pride and tried to make it work. But this was a wound too deep to heal. He had been a fool for 3 months, and he hadn't even known it. Ava, to her credit, didn't beg or cry. She simply gathered her things with a cold fury and left with Dylan. Ethan collapsed onto the couch amidst the wreckage of his relationship, the silence of the empty apartment pressing in on him. He felt hollowed out. For the next week, he drank. He ignored the frantic calls from his agent, from the film's director. He just sat in the dark, bottle after bottle, drowning his shame. A week after our meeting at the coffee shop, my phone rang. It was him. My heart leaped. "Hello?" His voice was a drunken slur. "Lily, can you come over?" "Yes," I said, without a moment's hesitation. "I'm on my way." I flew to his apartment. The scene that greeted me was one of utter chaos. Empty bottles, overflowing ashtrays, discarded clothes, rotting food, and Ethan, passed out on the sofa, a half-empty bottle of whiskey still clutched in his hand. My heart ached for him. "Ethan," I whispered, gently shaking him. "Ethan, wake up." He stirred, his eyes bleary and unfocused. "Lily, you came. I'm here," I said softly. "Let me take care of you. I'm just going to run downstairs and get a few things to help you feel better, okay?" I bought lemons and honey and made him a warm drink to sober him up. While he slept, I cleaned, I scrubbed, I tidied, I washed his clothes. I turned that disaster zone back into a home. I moved around the apartment like a wife, and I didn't even question why. The truth was, I still loved him, and I was foolishly hoping for a second chance. When I finished, it was late. I sat by the sofa and just watched him sleep. That familiar face, the one I had memorized. A wave of sadness washed over me. "Sleep well," I whispered, turning to leave. "I'm going now." As I stood up, his hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. "Don't go," he mumbled, his eyes still closed. Stay with me." My heart stopped. "You're awake?" "I woke up a while ago. I've been watching you watch me." He opened his eyes, and they were clear now, and filled with a raw vulnerability I had never seen before. "Why do you keep staring at me like that?" I just haven't seen you in a long time." "You were staring for a half an hour," he said, a ghost of a smile on his lips. "Do you miss me?" I couldn't answer. He tugged gently on my wrist, pulling me down onto the sofa beside him. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "What are you doing?" "Let me go. I have to leave." He leaned in, his face inches from mine, his breath warm. "Wife," he whispered, the word sending a shiver down my spine. "Stay with me tonight." That one word, wife, it shattered all my defenses. I was lost. I stared into his eyes, and then, as if pulled by an invisible force, we were kissing. It was a desperate, hungry kiss, fueled by months of loneliness and regret. That night, for the first time in over 6 months, I felt a man's touch. But it wasn't just any man. It was him. The fire that had long been dormant inside me roared back to life, and I could feel the same desperate hunger in him. It was a night of furious, passionate reconciliation. I lay in his arms afterwards, completely content, completely fulfilled. And in my post-coital bliss, I forgot the most important thing. I forgot to take my pill, and just like that, my life was about to change forever. We decided to get back together. It felt right. In that moment, we both knew we couldn't live without each other. I ignored the worried calls from my friends, the gentle warnings from my parents. I didn't care what anyone thought. I was happy. That was all that mattered. Ethan went back to work, and I moved my things into his apartment. I became a housewife. I scaled back my hours at the clinic, letting my staff handle the day-to-day, only going in for serious cases. My world became about taking care of him, of our home. One afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and my blood ran cold. It was Ava. "Lily?" she said, her eyes wide with shock. "What are you doing here? Where's Ethan?" I felt a surge of possessive fury. I stood tall, blocking the doorway. "Ethan and I are back together, so if you ever come near him again, I swear to God, I will end you. Do you understand me?" Her face crumpled. She looked defeated. "That's not possible. You're lying." "Why would I lie? Now get out of here, and don't ever come back." I slammed the door in her face. I had won. A month later, I found out I was pregnant. I was ecstatic. I called Ethan immediately, my voice trembling with joy. He was surprised, but I could hear the happiness in his voice too. He promised to come home early. That night, we lay in bed, his hand resting gently on my stomach. "Lily, I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry for everything I put you through. I promise, from now on, I will make it all up to you and the baby." "It's okay," I said, my heart full. "It's all in the past. I love you, Ethan. I love you too. I will never leave you again. I swear it." He seemed genuinely remorseful, consumed by guilt. And in that moment of shared happiness and vulnerability, I made a terrible mistake. I wanted to absolve him, to show him that I wasn't perfect either. So I told him my secret. "You don't have to feel so bad," I said softly. "I made a mistake too. That time, when you were so cold to me, when you left, I was so lonely. I had a one-night stand." The change in him was instantaneous. The warmth vanished from his eyes. His hand, which had been resting on my stomach, went rigid. He slowly pulled his arm away and sat up. "You." "What?" "It meant nothing, Ethan. I swear. I was drunk and miserable." He pushed me away gently and stood up. "Ethan, where are you going?" He didn't answer. He walked out of the bedroom and into the living room. I heard the flick of a lighter. He was smoking. What had I done? I must have drifted off, because the next thing I knew, it was morning, 8 o'clock. The space beside me in the bed was empty. I called his phone, no answer. I called again and again, nothing. Finally, in the late afternoon, he picked up. His voice was cold, distant. "What? Ethan, where are you?" I've been calling all day. I was so worried. I'm busy. Are you coming home tonight? No, but, click. He hung up. He hadn't even asked how I was feeling, how the baby was. I called back, but he didn't answer. My heart sank. A familiar, sickening dread washed over me. I couldn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. The next morning, I took a taxi to his set. He was sitting in a director's chair, scrolling through his phone, ignoring everyone around him. He saw me approach, but his face remained a blank mask. He was colder, more distant than ever before. "What do you want?" he asked, not even looking up. "We need to talk. I'm busy. Later." "No. Now. I came all this way. Please, Ethan." He sighed, a sound of pure annoyance. "Fine. Make it quick." I took his hand. It was limp and cold in mine. "Are you angry with me?" About what I told you." He finally looked at me, and his eyes were full of a contempt that made me flinch. "I'm disappointed, Lily. I never thought you were that kind of woman. So easy, so cheap. Don't you have any self-respect? It was because you left me. You abandoned me and went to another woman. I was heartbroken. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. An excuse is just an excuse," he said, his voice flat. "It happened. You can't take it back. Now, you should go. We can talk about this later." Tears were streaming down my face now. "How can you be so cruel? You betrayed me. For months. I forgave you for everything. And I make one mistake. One single mistake. And you can't forgive me? That's not fair." He stood up, towering over me. "You need to understand something. Men are different. We can have our flings. It doesn't mean anything. But a woman, a wife, she is supposed to be pure, loyal to her husband, to his family. Do you understand? Loyal," I choked out, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "Loyal even when her husband cheats on her and tries to divorce her. That's how you see me? As the bad guy? Well, you're no angel yourself. You were so desperate you just opened your legs for the first stranger who looked at you. How pathetic." "Shut up," I screamed. "I have nothing more to say to you. The truth is the truth, Lily. You're no better than a whore. Go to hell," I whispered. "I never want to see you again." "Fine by me," he sneered. Then he leaned in, his voice dropping to a cruel whisper. "And I'll raise this baby myself. You're not fit to be a mother." His mouth twisted into a cruel smirk. "Are you even sure it's my baby?" That was it, the final blow. I slapped him, hard. The sound echoed across the silent film set. "You're a monster," I sobbed. "I hate you." Then I turned and walked away. I walked for hours. I don't know how long. Taxis slowed, drivers asking if I needed a ride, but I just shook my head and kept moving. I needed the anonymity of the crowded streets, the feeling of being lost in a sea of strangers. His words replayed in my mind, a torturous loop. "Are you even sure it's my baby? He could cheat, he could lie, he could abandon me." But the moment I confessed my own single, lonely mistake, I became the villain. I became unclean. The hypocrisy was staggering. I had been so stupid. I had actually believed we could start over. I had let myself hope. And for what? To be discarded again, this time with his child growing inside me. The pain was doubled, 1,000 times sharper than before. I walked until a sharp cramp in my abdomen stopped me in my tracks. Fear, cold and sharp, cut through the fog of my grief. The baby. I flagged down a taxi and rushed to my clinic. The ultrasound was a blurry, grayscale image, but the tiny, fluttering heartbeat was strong and clear. A wave of relief, so powerful it almost brought me to my knees, washed over me. In that moment, everything shifted. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about this little life. My child. I left him. For good this time. We had never officially remarried, just moved in together. So there were no papers to sign, no courts to face. I just packed my bags and walked away. And I was glad. I had my baby. I had a profit. I would be okay. I would raise this child on my own. And I would be a damn good mother. I threw myself into my work, into preparing for the baby, and pushed all thoughts of men, of love, of betrayal, to the furthest corner of my mind. 9 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby girl. I named her Grace, because that's what she was, a saving grace in the wreckage of my life. I wanted her to have a life of peace, of happiness. Being a single mother was hard, but it was also the most rewarding thing I had ever done. My world revolved around my clinic and my daughter. The days were long, a blur of work and diapers and sleepless nights. But for the first time in a long time, I felt content. Time passed. 1 year, then 2, then 3. Grace was a bright, bubbly toddler. She was starting to ask questions about her father. Mommy, where's my daddy? I told her he was working in a country far, far away. It was an easy lie, a simple explanation for a 3-year-old. One morning, at preschool drop-off, another mother approached me. You must be Grace's mom, she said, smiling. I'm Jessica, Michael's mom. The two of them are inseparable. Oh, that's so sweet, I said. You know, she said, her voice dropping conspiratorially. Michael told me that Grace doesn't have a daddy. Is that true? Her bluntness caught me off guard. I stammered, the lie feeling thick and clumsy in my mouth. Oh no, of course not. Her father. He works overseas. He's not home very often. Ah, I see, she said, though her eyes told me she didn't quite believe it. Well, you should bring Grace over for a playdate sometime. The kids would love it. I'd like that, I said, forcing a smile. The conversation haunted me all day. Grace was getting older, smarter. The lie wouldn't hold forever. What would I tell her when she was old enough to understand? That afternoon, on the drive home, she was looking out the window. Mommy, she said, pointing to a man walking down the street. Is my daddy handsome like that man? Even more handsome, sweetie, I said, my heart aching. Really? Can we call him? I want to see his face. We can't, honey. There's no internet where he is. Her face crumpled. I want my daddy, she wailed, the sudden tantrum taking me by surprise. I want to see him now. You're lying to me, Mommy. You're a liar. I spent the rest of the drive trying to soothe her, promising her that her daddy would be home by the end of the year, buying her a new doll to distract her. It worked, for a little while, but the questions kept coming. A few weeks later, she demanded to see a picture of him. Panicked, I was scrolling through Facebook and saw a photo of a man on a travel blog. He was handsome, smiling, standing in front of an exotic landmark. Here he is, I said, pointing to the screen. This is your daddy. Her eyes lit up. Wow, he's so handsome. She leaned in and kissed the phone screen. Then, her eyes narrowed. Call him. If he posted this on Facebook, he must have internet. Damn it. She was too smart. I quickly powered off my phone. Oh no, honey. The battery's dead. We'll have to try later. I knew I was on borrowed time. The lies were becoming more and more elaborate. A flimsy house of cards that was bound to collapse. Grace was about to turn 5. And in all that time, Ethan had never once tried to see her. We lived only a few miles apart. He was a star, his face everywhere. But in our lives, he was a ghost. I remembered the one and only time he had called, shortly after Grace was born. He'd said he wanted to do a DNA test to see if she was really his. If she was, he would provide child support. $800 a month. He would take responsibility. I had lost my mind. I screamed at him, cursed him, and told him to never, ever come near my daughter. And he hadn't. He had vanished for 5 years. One Sunday, I took Grace to the mall to buy her a birthday present. We were sitting in the food court, eating ice cream, when she suddenly shouted, her voice ringing with excitement, "Daddy, Daddy, you're home." I whipped my head around. A man was walking past our table, and Grace had dropped her spoon and was running towards him. "Grace, no!" I yelled, scrambling after her. "Honey, that's a stranger." But it was too late. She had thrown her arms around the man's legs. "Daddy, it's me. It's Grace, your daughter. When did you get back?" The man looked down at her, completely bewildered. He looked at me, his expression a mixture of confusion and alarm. And my heart stopped. It was him, the man from the Facebook photo. I felt the blood drain from my face. "I am so sorry," I stammered, trying to pry my daughter off him. She's mistaken you for someone else. "It's no problem," he said, his voice kind. But Grace wasn't having it. "No, it's him, Mommy. You showed me his picture. This is my daddy." I remembered his name from the travel blog, Jason Wright. And now here he was, in the flesh, a random stranger who my daughter was now convinced was her long-lost father. What were the odds? It was a cosmic joke, a cruel twist of fate. I had learned my lesson. Never lie to a child. I tried to pull Grace away, but she started screaming, a full-blown, kicking and crying tantrum that drew a crowd of onlookers. I was mortified, defeated. I had no choice. I looked at the stranger, my eyes pleading. "Please," I whispered. Can you just come with us? Just for a little while, just to calm her down." To my utter shock, he agreed. His name really was Jason Wright. He was a few years older than me, the CEO of his own tech company, and single. He drove us home in his ridiculously nice car, Grace chattering away in the back seat, clinging to her newfound father as if her life depended on it. "Daddy, where have you been for so long? I missed you so much." Jason, to his credit, handled it with an incredible, "Well, Grace, I've been very busy with work, sweetie, but I'm back now." "Good," she said firmly. "You're not allowed to leave again. Mommy makes lots of money. She can take care of both of us." I could have died of embarrassment right there in the passenger seat. We spent the rest of the day in a surreal haze. Jason played the part of doting father perfectly. It wasn't until after midnight, after he had sung Grace to sleep with a slightly off-key rendition of "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," that we finally had a chance to talk. "I am so incredibly sorry about all this," I said, burying my face in my hands. "This is a nightmare. Please, give me your bank account details. I want to pay you for your time today." "Pay me?" he said, a small smile playing on his lips. "You think you can just solve everything with money? It's the least I can do. And I have another proposition for you. A business proposition." I took a deep breath. Can I hire you to be her father?" He stared at me. "You want to hire me to be your daughter's father?" "Yes. Once a month, you come and spend the day with her. I'll pay you $1,000 a day." He leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Where is her real father? He left when I was pregnant. He's not a good person." Jason was quiet for a long time. Then he sighed. "All right, I'll help you, and you can keep your money. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it for her." "But Lily, This can't be a long-term solution. She's a smart kid. She deserves to know the truth. I know, I whispered. I don't know how to tell her. He left in the early hours of the morning, promising to be back before Grace woke up, so she wouldn't think her daddy had abandoned her again. And he was. He showed up at 6 a.m., looking exhausted but smiling. He had canceled a major board meeting to spend the day with my daughter. He took us to an amusement park. He bought her ice cream. He held my hand when Grace insisted on it, his touch sending a strange, unfamiliar jolt through me. We started spending more and more time together. He became a fixture in our lives. And I started falling for him. He was everything Ethan wasn't. Kind, patient, selfless. He was wonderful with Grace. He was wonderful with me. One night, after Grace was asleep, we were sitting on the couch, talking. It had been a few weeks of this strange, wonderful charade. He turned to me, his expression serious. "Lily, I can't do this anymore." My heart plummeted. "What? You're leaving?" "No," he said, taking my hand. I can't pretend anymore. I don't want to be her fake dad. I want to be her real dad. I want to be your husband. I'm in love with you, Lily." And then he kissed me, and in that moment, I knew. This was real. This was the love I had been searching for my entire life. We got married 6 months later, in a small, simple ceremony with just our closest friends. Grace was our flower girl, beaming from ear to ear. Jason was an orphan. His parents had passed away when he was young. He told me that Grace and I were the first real family he'd ever had. Life was perfect, truly, deeply perfect. I had a husband who adored me, a daughter who was thriving, and a career I loved. One day, I was at a restaurant with Jason and Grace, celebrating our first anniversary, and I saw him, Ethan. He was sitting at a nearby table with a young, starlet type. He saw me, and his eyes widened in surprise. He came over to our table. "Lily," he said. "Wow, it's been a long time. You look happy." "I am," I said, my hand instinctively finding Jason's under the table. His eyes fell on Grace, who was busy coloring in her menu. Is that her? Is she?" "This is my husband, Jason," I said, cutting him off. "And my daughter, Grace. We should get back to our dinner." He just stood there, staring at Grace. "She has my eyes," he whispered, so quietly I almost didn't hear him. I saw a flicker of something in his expression. Regret. Later, he started showing up at my house, at Grace's school. He would bring her presents, trying to win her over. I threw them in the trash. "What do you want, Ethan?" I demanded one afternoon, when he showed up at my doorstep yet again. "She's my daughter, Lily. I have a right to see her." "A right?" I laughed, the sound sharp and humorless. "You lost that right 5 years ago, when you asked me if she was even yours. You lost that right when you offered me $800 a month to make you go away. You don't get to show up now, when she has a wonderful father who loves her, and try to play daddy. Jason is her father. You are nothing to her." He tried to argue, to plead, but my heart was like stone. He was a bad seed, a man who would only ever bring chaos and pain. I would not let him poison my daughter's life. One day, Jason came home from work and told me to look at the news. Ethan was all over the celebrity gossip sites. He'd been caught having an affair with a much older, very wealthy, very married woman. Her husband and sons had shown up on his film set and beaten him up. His career was in shambles. I felt a brief, dark flicker of satisfaction, but it was quickly replaced by a weary sadness. He was a mess, a self-destructive, broken man, and I realized, with a profound sense of peace, that I felt nothing for him anymore. No love, no hate, just pity. My life is full now. It's full of laughter and school plays and bedtime stories. It's full of a quiet, steady love from a good man who stepped into a complicated situation and chose to be a father in every sense of the word. Sometimes I think about what makes a marriage work, what makes it fail, and I think it comes down to this: respect, equality, a partnership. A man doesn't get to demand loyalty he doesn't give. He doesn't get to shatter a woman's heart and then be surprised when she seeks comfort elsewhere. I made a mistake once, a long time ago, but my biggest mistake was marrying a man who never truly saw me at all. Now I am seen, I am loved, and my daughter has a father who will never, ever leave. And that, I've learned, is the only happy ending that truly matters.